You're fine.
What is that? I'm not excited.
That's the chair. Well, you can post yours, Angela, right?
Do you want me to put on the
You post yours.
Where's Jessica?
Who's Jane
No,
Doe?
don't fall. It's heavy enough.
Is that you? Okay. I love your videos.
I'm not ready for that.
So you'll post it, right?
Yeah, I'll post that.
Okay. So last time, every time I turn around, she adds something new.
Lights on, the flash.
Oh,
Okay.
I think I borrowed somebody's pen forever.
That's mine.
Okay.
Where did you get that
It
from?
was on the floor.
He got
She's
it.
lying.
No, he got it from extra credit.
Uh,
You gotta say that. I thank you.
So
Still,
probably
yeah.
question. Well, statement. I thought these, since we had an exam.
They are.
we're doing- okay.
That's right. That's the rule.
I just wanted to make sure because I didn't.
Well,
I knew you were gonna say that.
This week is like really. All right. Last time we talked about the staff. We talked about the different tests for the staphylococcus. Catalase was the most important one. Tell me what catalase does.
It enhances.
No, it doesn't catalyze anything. No.
Just to speed it up.
Now that's a catalyst, but not catalase. That's
Oh, okay.
different. So catalase is spelled like that. C-A-T-A-L-A-S-E. That is an enzyme
I haven't studied
that
yet.
breaks down hydrogen peroxide. So if an organism can produce catalase, and our blood does it, right? That's why if you put hydrogen peroxide on a little cut, it fizzes.
I thought it was getting rid of bacteria with hydrogen.
It does, but it's the catalase activity of the blood that's breaking it all apart. Okay, so if something is catalase positive and it's a gram-positive coxy in clusters, ladies, then it's considered to be a staph or a microcoxy, and that's what we studied last time. Okay, so if we look at these things, let's look at them in order of easiness. So this is PEA. Tell me what PEA does.
It's really early.
It's really early. No, it's after a test. So PEA allows for gram-positive organisms but inhibits gram-negatives. Okay, so if you look at these organisms, you can see that this is even 2 days later, right? You can see E. coli is beginning to grow already.
This has the alcohol in it? Okay.
Yeah, so these two grew really well, right? And you might think, well, Streptococcus pyogenes looks kind of weak, but it's a slow grower. E. coli is a real rapid grower, and had it not been on this particular medium, it would have been just all over the place by now. But remember, and the thing to remember for the practical is that PEA does not kill the gram-negatives, it just slows them down. But once the alcohol gets removed, volatilizes away from the media, then the gram-neg start growing again. Okay? Questions? What macromolecule is affected by the alcohol? How does it
Oh,
inhibit?
lipid?
That would be one of them. The other one is
Sugar?
DNA. Okay. Good.
I was gonna guess it out.
Okay.
you're just overexcited because of extra credit.
All right, Dion.
Okay. So let's talk about blood agar. So tell me what blood agar does.
It sees if the organism can break down our red blood cells or not. Or
So
tissue.
it's really sheep red blood cells, but it's completely homologous to us,
Yeah.
right?
Homo-
So if it can, same. So if it can break down the sheep red blood cell, it can break our cells, right? And so there are 3 different results. Do you remember what they are?
the alpha
Which is
partial
what color around the colony? Green. And then there's
beta.
beta, which is what type of breakdown?
It's full breakdown.
Good. And what is the area around it?
Clear.
Huh? Clear. And then the last one is
Gamma.
and
There's no.
no hemolysis, so it stays what color?
Red.
Oh, look at you! I like that a lot. So if we look at these organisms growing on here, can you appreciate that this is
Green.
clear and it's what?
Oh, it's clear.
Which type of hemolysis?
Beta.
Beta. Very good. This one you can see is a little bit of green around the colony. Can you see it?
No. I mean, I can see
say something about, I can't say that that's green,
Okay.
but thank you, it's green.
So
That's
it is,
alpha, right?
it's alpha, very good. And this one is red still. Yep. So there's no hemolysis. And it's which reaction?
Gamma.
Gamma. Okay? So I put Streptococcus pyogenes, I did a 4-quadrant streak of Streptococcus pyogenes so that if you guys will kind of pass around, look into the light, you can see the clearing around the colony. Now be careful not to stick your fingers in it, okay?
Why?
Because it's a pathogen, an opportunistic pathogen.
But I thought you take out the denature it.
That is true, but let's consider it a pathogen. Jalen,
I'm just saying.
you are very impressive.
He is. I went to this girl's house to study
I
and
have
she
a-
didn't want to stop helping me.
I have a
like,
cousin. You want
1,
to meet
2
him?
in the morning.
I like smart women in my family. Have a cousin. Let me know.
Okay.
She already has a smart
Oh,
one,
she
right?
does. I didn't mean to make. I was just playing with you. I didn't. Of course, this is being recorded. Of course, I was just having fun with you.
No, you're
Okay.
fine.
Any questions about but blood auger? All right, the last one. Y'all did well. Whoever
Why is
did
it
this.
important?
What blood auger? Okay, very good. So, can you answer that question?
No.
Oh. Blood auger is diagnostic because it tells us what type of an effect that particular organism might have on us.
So that's how,
It's much more, now anything in the blood is bad, okay?
right?
But if it's beta hemolytic, that means it can break down our blood, and that's really terrible. So those are the flesh eaters, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay? If it's alpha hemolytic, okay, maybe, if it's on a wound, we worry a little bit about it. But it'd probably be knocked out with antibiotics. Flesh eaters move so fast, we want to be sure we capture them. Okay?
So if it does happen in the blood, is it clear, or is it that, like, cherry type of?
So tell me, ask me again. If it happens in the blood, you won't be able to tell. You'll have a high fever, and we won't be able to tell what's going on in the blood. The only way we're going to be able to do that is to take a little bit of blood.
Well, because I work in the dialysis, so
Uh-huh.
whatever, they're like, if it's like pink, the blood, then it's like probably hemolysis. So how come it's clear there and like?
Because we are putting it on a solid. We're putting it on a solid medium, where you're looking at still in the serum, in the blood. Okay. But just know, look how clear that is. That's Staph aureus right there. It's a flesh eater. This is Streptococcus pyogenes. It's a flesh eater.
Which one causes the gangrene or
None of so the
necrotitis? Yeah, that one.
necrotizing fasciitis. This one is number one. Streptococcus pyogenes.
Okay.
The
And
one
that's
that you
what you didn't want
wanted
us to
to,
touch.
the one that you
Okay.
wanted to get in there and touch.
Can you do us a favor whenever you show it to us? Do it like that, because we're all gonna see this.
Streptococcus pyogenes, beta hemolytic. Okay. Staph aureus right here. Beta hemolytic fulminantly. Okay. How about that?
Thank you.
Last thing. Mannitol salt auger. Somebody tell me why it's important. Mannitol salt auger is selective and differential. It's selective for what? If the organism is growing on this plate, what is it?
Solid.
A halophile. So the Staphylococcus and the Micrococcus are halophile. The other organisms, I don't care what they are, they're not going to grow here unless they are halophilic. Okay? So the organisms here, you've got 4 of them. One of them chose not to grow, Streptococcus pyogenes. Why didn't it grow?
Because it doesn't like salt.
Well, okay, that's because it's not a halophile.
Jane Doe, are you
Okay,
getting
very
it?
good. Jane Doe.
That's her YouTube
That's her
channel.
name on YouTube.
Oh,
We
okay.
can watch the videos.
This organism is yellow colony, but look what it's doing to the medium. So the reason that this is selective is because it's got 7.5% sodium chloride in it. And most of the halophiles can tolerate salt up to 10%. Okay? This one is growing on it and it's fermenting mannitol. Mannitol is what makes it differential. We're looking for the ability of a microorganism to ferment mannitol. Very few of them can do it. Staph aureus is one of those.
So it's fermenting mannitol.
Mannitol. It's growing on here because it's a halophile, but it's fermenting mannitol.
What is
exactly is
yeah, what
mannitol?
does that show?
Mannitol? So mannitol is, to answer your question, mannitol is a sugar alcohol. It would be like sorbitol, right? So you can get sorbitol in some gums and different things like that, right? There's also xylitol. Those are all carbohydrates that have been, if you will, made into an alcohol.
It's a gum.
Right. And so when they do that, there are very few things that can utilize them as a nutrient. So when you chew gum or eat something that's got sorbitol, mannitol, or xylitol in it, we can't use those things as the nutrient source. Right? So we don't get any calories from them.
Is it true? I don't know if I saw it on Twitter, but like that this guy, he said that he chewed gum and then swallowed every single piece of gum he chewed, and then now he's like paralyzed. Is that a thing?
Paralyzed?
Yeah.
I have no
From his
idea.
digestive?
It's not good for you to chew to swallow gum. It's
Gums
not good.
have plastic.
It can cause impaction also. It can do lots of different things. Right? Good to chew, not to swallow.
Okay.
Okay? So the other two organisms, if you'll notice, I don't know, let's pick on Jaylyn, because she's smart. What color of colony is that?
Yellow?
Yellow. So this particular organism, Micrococcus luteus, is got a yellow colony. But look at the media. What color is the media?
So
Pinkish?
color.
Pinkish. Pinkish. So what does that mean about its ability to ferment mannitol? It doesn't. So this is a halophile, but it's negative. It's
The
It's
deferential
a-
part of it is negative.
correct. So it's not Staph aureus. So Cindy asked, why is this important? Because Staph aureus is a pathogen, and we want to be able to figure out if we are going to have a big problem or not really quickly.
So do these like have negative and positive for fermentation? And
We
negative-
don't call them negative and positive for fermentation. We call them mannitol non-fermenter. Right? So remember we talked about
Or a
lactose
mannitol
non-fermenter?
fermenter.
This is a mannitol non-fermenter.
Okay.
But this is a mannitol fermenter. Okay?
The yellow.
The yellow. The other two are mannitol non-fermenters.
Even.
Non-fermenter. No.
And so what would
Because they don't change the
Pyogenes be then?
Well, what would Pyogenes be?
It's a non-fermenter.
It is in that.
Oh, it's inhibitory?
It's inhibited, so it's not a halophile. So we don't really
Even
not
considering-
interested in it because it's not growing on this plate.
So
We might be interested for other reasons, but it's not growing on this plate. So if we're looking at the staff,
what would,
it's not a staff.
what would we call it then? Oh, so we would just say
No
not
growth.
a staph, no growth?
Gram-positive coccus, what we call CNS,
Okay.
coagulase negative staphylococcus, or a non-grower at all.
Okay.
It's not important
Non-grower.
for this perspective.
Okay.
I did a 4-quadrant streak of Staph aureus on mannitol salt agar so that you could see what we sometimes see in the lab. This is a real. I mean, if we are doing this from a wound or something like that, and we put this on the plate right now,
Oh, it stinks. Okay.
but a lot of times what we'll do is we will break up the plate in like quadrants and put like several different ones because it's just too expensive to just put one organism that might show up positive. Right? We can do a bunch of tests. We can do maybe 10 tests on one plate. Okay, good questions. So that is all of the stuff from last time. You can take in a minute, take your plates and take pictures of them, but I want them back because I promised that we would help another lab group who's behind. And we're going to just give them all of our plates today. Okay?
No, I want to take mine home.
You can't take them home. You can't take them home. All right, let's talk about today's stuff. Today's stuff, we're looking at the other side of the gram-positive cocci, right? So we've already looked at the gram-negative enterics. We've already looked at this gram-positive cocci that are catalase positive, the staph. So today we're looking at the gram-positive cocci that are catalase negative. Now look at the board. At the board it says the streptococci and enterococci are gram-positive cocci. They're found in chains or in short chains. So short chains would be diplococci, right? everybody who works in clinical laboratories will call them diplocoxy, but a lot of people who work in other research just call them short chains. Okay? They're all catalase negative. Okay? So they don't break down hydrogen peroxide. And the streptococcus are all grouped by different groups based on the carbohydrates that they have in their cell walls. So if you look at this is my little handy dandy chart that I give to everybody. If you look at it, when it's got its name, the next thing it has groups, right? So there are groups A all the way through R. We're only going to be interested in groups A, B, C, D, H, K, and not groupable. Okay? Everybody with me so far? Okay. So, for instance, group A streptococcus, you might have heard of that. It's the same thing as gas, right? So we in industry just simply say gas. It's gas, right? That's group A strep. That's also known as Streptococcus pyogenes. They're all the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't see.
You just see them.
No, there.
It's the only group A. Okay? Good? Everybody with me so far? So what we can do then is we have 4 tests that we're going to talk about today that will differentiate. Here, put a little check by these guys. Streptococcus pyogenes, put a little check. Streptococcus agalacti, put a little check. Streptococcus equi, put a little check. Enterococcus faecalis, put a little check. And Streptococcus pneumoniae, put a little check.
What else?
Streptococcus pneumoniae. Those are the ones I'm going to ask you about on the practical. Okay? We can differentiate those by doing these tests we're going to talk about today. The first test, of course, is blood agar. Now, we know about that already, so I don't have to explain it again, right? But then we can add a couple of discs, and on those discs, we have impregnated some antibiotics. We call those discs an A disc and a P disc, okay? So an A disc is, I'll show you what it is. Hey, Tanisha, will you bring me one of those little blue containers? So on these particular, we have these little tiny discs. And these little tiny discs
Yeah,
have,
back to Tracy.
That's a trace.
have bacitracin, that's right. So if I pull one of these out. These are little tiny discs that have bacitracin. On them, you can see that, I don't know, you can't see it, but here it is. It's got an A on it, right?
And that has the impregnated.
It has an antibiotic on it, and the antibiotic is bacitracin.
Okay.
Okay? So if you look at the chart and you go to the A disc, you're going to see that there's only one organism that is sensitive to bacitracin.
Streptococcus pyogenes.
There's a reason this is an A disc. What group is that?
A.
Group A. So on a practical, let's say, what group of streptococcus is the A disc used for? You're going to say Group A. Are you with me? It's that easy.
Okay. I was like, that was, yeah.
Streptococcus pyogenes.
I thought it was
So what we do is we take a blood plate and we streak it for isolation, 4-quadrant streak, right? And so behind that monitor is where I want you to place the A and the P disc. You're gonna place the A disc in. Once you do that 4-quadrant streak, you're gonna place the A disc between the first and second quadrant, and you're gonna place the P disc between the second and third quadrant. Okay? Y'all see that?
Yes.
So you're gonna do a 4-quadrant. You're gonna do a streak for isolation. Make sure you do it correctly. This morning they forgot and they did it all wrong. So we had to show them again, right? So once you do that, then let me know and we'll come together and I'll show you all how to do this and then y'all can do it.
So you streak and then you put the disc.
And then you put the disc on
Okay.
after. Okay, the disc, when they're impregnated, so the A disc has got bacitracin, the P disc has optogen. It's called the P disc because it's specific for only one organism. Can you tell me what organism is sensitive to the P disc?
Streptococcus pneumoniae.
So and the species name begins with the P,
Pneumonia.
and
Oh,
the P
that's
disc
why.
is
Got it.
for pneumonia.
Got it.
Okay, good? So those are really easy questions you should get on a practical. If I say, which of the Streptococcus species are sensitive to the P. disc, you're going to say Streptococcus pneumoniae. Good?
So what when we have these 2 discs for these, like, only these 2?
But it's really important because if you look on there and you have a beta hemolytic organism, look at the chart. You have a beta hemolytic organism. If it's beta hemolytic, which 3 could it be? Look at it. Which 3 could it
It could
be?
be Streptococcus pyogenes, it could
Or-
be Streptococcus,
Agalacti
thank you.
or
Streptococcus equi.
equi. So now, I decided we're not going to do equi. Just scratch it. We're just going to do the first 2. Okay? So, if you do a test and you put the A disc on there and it's a beta hemolytic organism that's catalase negative and a gram-positive cocci and it's resistant to the A disc, you immediately knock out which one?
Streptococcus, take away.
Streptococcus pyogenes, right? So what's left?
Take that out, but all those things were what you just
Yeah.
said,
One more time?
right?
Weren't they, yeah. everything-
Wasn't everything you just said that is Streptococcus?
Hold on,
right?
listen.
Okay,
Listen.
listening.
It's gram-positive cocci.
Okay,
It's found in chains.
okay.
It's catalase negative, and it's resistant to the A disc.
Streptococcus pyogenes is sensitive to the A disc.
That's right. So what is left?
Oh, that's resistant. Oh. The Agalacti.
Agalacti. Very
Okay.
good. So that's how you get that organism.
Okay. It's that one
It's
thing.
logic.
Yeah, I
It's
get
logic. Okay?
That didn't register.
Okay, hold on. Here we go again. So, which 2 organisms did I say were responsible for that are beta hemolytic?
The
pyogenes
pyogenes and
and
Agalacti.
Good. Now listen. You have a gram-positive coccus. They're both still there. They're in chains. They're both still there. They're catalase negative. They're both still there, right? But then the organism is resistant to the A disc.
The one you're looking for.
Oh, okay.
That's why, okay, I got it now, I got it
Okay?
now.
Good? That's the way I need you to think about this. Good? Now listen, there's one more thing. If we look at the P disc, you'll see that there's only one organism that is sensitive to optogen. Which is it?
Streptococcus pneumoniae.
And what group does it belong to?
No.
None. So tell me how we group the Streptococci.
Not groupable.
Now hold on. What's the rule? How do we group the Streptococci?
Based on the
Oh, sugar. CHO is sugar, right?
Okay.
Based on
In the
sugars
cell
in the cell
walls.
wall.
Okay.
Okay, now listen. If we can't group it, that means what?
There's no sugars in the cell wall.
No, there are. But we can't test it because something is blocking.
Oh, the peptidoglycan.
Something is blocking us from
Okay.
getting to
Like
the cell wall.
peptidoglycan layer?
Well, no. What would be on the outside of a cell
The
wall?
capsule?
So the organism has a capsule, and the capsule interferes with the test. Therefore, it's not groupable. See how much you know? All you got to do is think about it logically. Good? Hey, Miss Carolina, will you hand me 1 tube of bile esculent and 1 tube of
I should have wrote that better.
6.5 salt tolerance? Just pull a rack out of here real quick, Miss out of this drawer, out of
Me too.
Tamisha's drawer, right here. Yeah, and then just get one of each of those for me. And will you bring them to me? Thank you. I don't mean to make people do work. I just get started talking. I get excited. Just one of each. Just one of each of those 2 tubes. That's good. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So these 2 tests, it becomes a little bit more complicated when you start to look at the other groups that are not group A, B, or C. Okay? You're not excited, Cindy. You're like, hey, you only have to deal with me for another 2 weeks, and then that's it.
That's sad.
These 2 tests are run in tandem. What does that mean, Angie? O juntos.
Together.
Together. Are you with me? even the chestinator knew
Even the
that.
white girl in here knew what that meant.
So,
You are not the only white girl.
Thank you, Dora.
I'm dead.
hold on.
No.
Y'all don't fight. Okay, so these 2 things are run in tandem. And with this, we can gather enough information to differentiate group D, non-enterococcus, enterococcus, group K, group H. Okay? You with me? So listen. In order to use these tests, you have to first make sure that it is catalase negative and it's a gram-positive coccus. Because these tests will not work. They'll be all weird if you do a staph or you do a gram-negative. It has to be a gram-positive coccus that's catalase negative. Has to be. Because if you do these tests, you're going to be chasing phantoms. But if you establish it's a gram-positive coccus is catalase negative and you do these tests, they're powerful.
How do you establish it? Do you test for that first?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just take a little bit of the colony from a non-blood plate,
That's
put
what
it
we
into
did.
hydrogen peroxide, it bubbles as positive, it doesn't bubble, it's negative.
Oh, okay.
In this case, we want no bubbles.
Okay.
Okay? This is bile esculent. It's a slant. How are you going to inoculate it? Well, I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Are we gonna
Streak the slant.
Streak the
and
slant, stab the butt. SSSB. Good? We're looking for the ability of the
knows what it means.
microorganism to break down esculent. And if it does so, the tube will turn black. If it doesn't turn black, it's negative. If it turns dark, it's positive. Yes? And if it turns black, that immediately says group D, H, or K. Good?
That it's one of those.
So here's a little chart over here. You see it over here? So if you have two negatives, then it's going to be A, B, or C. If you have this one positive, that immediately puts it into a D, H, or K.
Okay.
Good? Second test in the tandem is 6.5 salt tolerance. What would happen if you put Staphylococcus in here?
Staphylococcus is
It starts with H.
halophile.
Halophile. Will it grow in here? So you want to be sure that you have a gram-positive cocci that is catalase negative, because everything you put in here that's a staph or is going to grow.
Okay.
This has got 6.5% salt. It's not enough to stop the staph for sure, but it's enough to stop everything else, except the guys who are just a little bit halophilic, which are the enterococci. This is a broth. It's got nutrients in it, protein, and it's got 6.5 sodium chloride. How do you inoculate it?
With the loop?
With a loop. I didn't know if you were going to do this.
No, it's more of just like.
Okay. With a loop. You come back in 24 hours. If it's turbid, it's positive. If it's still clear, it's negative.
Okay.
Okay? But you have to look at these two together. If both of these are negative, then it is group A, B, or C. If this is positive and this is negative, it's group D, H, or K. If both of these are positive, it's group D, enterococcus. And that is a major pathogen. So we want to be sure that we can figure out what it is really quickly. Okay? Now, yes, we do have real rapid tests we can do, but let's say you're a nurse in a rural hospital, you're making $100,000 a year, but you're also doing the microbiology work, because that can happen.
Oh, that's crazy.
By CLIA, it's the Clinical Laboratory Improvement Act, anybody who has enough background to be trained to understand a test and can do a test can do microbiological tests.
That's amazing.
So you,
CLIA 1988.
I have a question though. You said that all the D's are going to be the enterococcus?
No, there's
Right.
just two of them that
Right.
are enterococcus.
Right, okay.
But we're only going to work with Enterococcus faecalis,
Oh,
not faecium.
okay.
Okay?
So scratch that one. Oh.
You can
we
scratch
didn't
it.
put a
You
mark
can
by that.
in the semesters that would have been normal, I would have brought it out and we would have played with it.
So with the
But I just thought it was just too much for the limited time we have to try to understand all this stuff and how it works. Okay?
with the equi too though, you want us to cross that one out
Uh-huh.
completely?
Good. I'm wanting you all to get an appreciation for what the diagnostics are. And because we're not doing an unknown, and because this is kind of a weird semester where we were on for 3 weeks, we didn't really get the full appreciation. But we got a lot more than if we would have been online.
Yeah.
Okay? So what you're going to do today for me is you're going to take 2 blood plates per cohort. You're going to take 2 blood plates. You're going to do a streak for isolation for Streptococcus pyogenes, group A, and for Streptococcus pneumoniae, the one that's not groupable. And then you're going to put an A disc between first and second quadrant and a P between the second and third quadrant, and you're done. We'll come back on next Tuesday, we'll look at the results.
Okay.
And then you're going to have 3 organisms that you're going to put them into a set. A set is Bile-Esculin a 6.5, right? And that's Streptococcus pyogenes, Streptococcus bovis, and Enterococcus faecalis.
So we're gonna have 6 of those total then?
Yes, 6 tubes total.
Okay.
Okay? It shouldn't take you very long to do
Did you
that.
say bovis?
Well, whatever's on Myra's chart.
Oh, okay, because this says bovis. I had scratched that out.
It's okay, but
Oh,
but look at Myra's. Who's got one of my? So what's on Myra's chart? Yeah, that one. What is it?
The bovis that has.
Pyogenes and Enterococcus. So that's what we're doing. Okay? But we're just wanting to look at the combinations of positive negatives with Bile-Esculin 6.5.
Okay.
Okay? Good? Okay, now, you guys will do that. It won't take you very long. And then after that, if you need to stay and talk to me about your grade, I'll take you one at a time and we'll talk grades. Okay? I want you to know where you stand. Because this is the last day to drop.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm going to consider what you have now and not what it could be in the future. Just what you have now. Okay? Let's look at the end of the course, right? So on Tuesday next week, we will come to class. We will talk about systemic infections, and then we'll come to lab, and we will do the last 2 labs together. We'll look at the results here, and then we're going to look at antibiotic sensitivity resistance, Kirby-Bauer, and then we'll do the UV lab. Okay? I'm going to do UV lab as a demonstration, as a presentation, and then we're going to test some different UV appliances. I've got 4 wands I'm going to bring in. We're going to test to see which one's better.
Wallets?
Wands.
Oh, wand.
Wand.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then we'll go away for Thanksgiving, right? And this is the last thing you're going to do today that requires a lab report. The things we do on Tuesday will be on the practical, but there will be no lab. The lab reports are done as of today.
We have
Yay.
one more pre-lab summary though due on Tuesday.
No.
This one.
Yes, that one's today. That's for today's lab. Yes,
So we have to still do that pre-lab summary and then do the lab
and the
report.
post-lab, the lab report.
Okay.
Good?
So for this.
But after that's it. On Tuesday you'll come in. You don't need to bring a pre-lab. It's over.
It should
That's
just be
kind of feel
conclusions.
weird.
The conclusion for the one we finished today
Yeah.
is staff. So,
So we should
you're
just
not
do-
going to see the results for the strep until Tuesday. So it's due
Thursday.
the following week.
Oh.
Okay? Because on Thursday's Thanksgiving. Now, I'm
yeah.
not going to be here.
Oh, yeah.
You might be here, but I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be having a little turkey action. Okay? But that brings us to the next week after that, right? The week of the 29th. On the 30th, we will come in, we will look at the results for the antibiotics in lab. We will have a review for the final practical. Your final practical will be on the 2nd of December, and lab is done. In lecture, on that week, on Tuesday, we will do urogenital infections. And then on Thursday, we'll finish off with looking at nervous system infections. I'm going to send you my
Recording.
recording of the enteric lecture. Okay. So on Thursday, we'll come in, we'll take the practical, we'll finish lecture, and then after lecture, you guys are going to be doing some case studies for me. And those are going to be worth 10 points each. We'll do it by cohort. And you'll have open resources in each other. And those are worth 10 points each for exam 5. So if you do those correctly, it'll be something that we've talked about in class. You do those correctly, you'll get up and just talk about it a little bit to your colleagues so you teach them something.
Lab exam or lecture exam 5?
Lecture exam. Okay?
So the
You could walk into lecture exam number 5 with 20 points in your pocket.
Oh, 20?
What do you want, less? Less?
No.
I'm just checking.
Okay.
You always want to try to negotiate, okay?
Oh, I should.
Somebody has to have a long talk with this man, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've tried. We've had
tried.
names,
He just yells at us.
Yeah.
So Provine,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people
So,
are gonna
five-
stay after class.
10 points.
I'm definitely one of them. I'm first in line, just.
Okay.
You probably can eliminate a lot of staying after class. Can you show me exactly how to average the grade?
Yeah, I
Is
sent it
like
to you as a
divided by
formula. I
two?
sent
It
it to
was
a formula.
confusing.
I seen it,
I
but
think I
I
did it
was
right.
like, am I getting it wrong?
I think I did
What?
it right.
You take the 4 grades, so you take exam 1, 2, 3, and 4, take an average,
Times 0.7.
and then you divide it or multiply by 0.7.
Okay.
That's 70% of it. So if you made 100, somebody's real close to that. If you made 100, then times 0.7, 70 points.
Okay.
Then you take the lab grades, so you take practical 1, 2, 3, right, and that morphological assignment, and all the lab reports.
Okay.
Even though the-
report should equal around 100.
Even
The
though
lab, if you did them all and you've not got any points taken off.
Okay, we have a
Ex-
99.
Okay, you can do that. So if you got a 99, you add that in there.
That's what I thought. Okay, I did
So
it right.
there's, at this point, there's 5 grades. Practical 1, 2, 3, 4. Practical 1, 2, and 3. The morphological assignment, which everybody did really well.
Yeah.
And the homework, which everybody did really well. You take those up, divide them by 5 at this point, and you multiply it by 0.3. Then you add the point, whatever it is for lecture and by lab, put it together, and that's your course grade.
So you divide it by 5.
Well, whatever
how
the
many-
No, I'm just
whatever
asking like the exams plus the.
No, they're different. You have to look at them differently because I don't do it by points. I do it by weight. The
Right.
lectures are weighted a lot more.
Okay.
Okay.
Which are the 70%? Well, the 0.7.
Correct. Correct.
So with the labs, we'll do per exam, per practical, and then all of the 10 points per each lab report.
That's all one
That's all
grade.
one.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's why I had
There's
it.
15 of them.
Okay.
So there's 150 points, and you earn a certain amount.
Okay.
So let's just say you earn 130.
Mm-hmm.
You take 130 divided by 150, and you get your average for the lab reports. That's one practical.
Okay. That's why I was getting mixed up because I was
If
I was
look,
divided by all
I can
of
do
them.
this so quickly that if you want, it's not going to take me long.
Okay.
You'll be first, and then anybody else who wants to talk can talk. Okay? Good?
So, when is the lab test, lab test due?
When is the last test due?
The
Lab.
lab practical.
December 2nd.
That's going to be on the 2nd of December.
Oh my gosh, that's so close.
And when did you say the lecture? I remember the
So-
practical.
It's that.
The 9th? No, that's the
7th.
final. The 7th.
I think you said the 7.
Let me look. Hold on. How about if I put this in an email and send it to y'all?
Yes, that's the final.
So,
They were like,
exam 5 is on the 7th, but part of the exam 5 is on the 2nd, right? Case studies. And then the final, if you want to take it, some of you won't, but some of you might,
so the 20
is
points.
the 9th.
So the 20 points are worth the.
Should we ask him about-
what the case studies are worth? 20.
If you're not here that day, you don't get those points.
So about
If you're late that day, you don't get those points.
for
What day?
On the day of
The 2nd, I think,
Okay. So about the
for
comprehensive,
the case study.
what do we study for that? Like, 'cause
Everything.
to get every lecture
Everything.
out?
Everything.
Can we?
You have 4 other objectives. Look at that.
So for the
Everything's on there.
for the comprehensive, there's a way like for the so the missed exam we did. Is there any way we can retake that exam, or we have to do the comprehensive?
It's done. So that you missed your one.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
What do you mean by 4 objectives? I'm sorry.
What?
What do you mean by 4 objectives? Do you know?
You didn't get the objectives? You haven't been using the objectives?
No, I make my own review.
Yeah.
There are objectives for every single test on Blackboard.
Oh, okay.
You didn't know that?
Well, I did, but you make your exams the day of or the day before.
But I
so-
use the objectives and
Oh,
I
I
use
never thought you
PowerPoints.
did. I
It just
thought
don't
you
seem like it because the way he
used
words them
your
and
head
does it.
or something or whatever.
On the lecture exams, I didn't know that there was objectives. I know for the labs,
How
yeah.
many times did I say that?
Oh yeah, we make our own.
Yeah,
Well, that-
I've been
I mean,
making
that's
my
fine.
own.
But okay, but I'll look at the objectives, so that's the good
Okay.
answer.
What are
On
they
the
under?
fifth one, it's just etiology, and so there's just a list of
So if you
organisms.
study the objectives and you will make a good grade? Yeah.
I don't
Good
know
point.
that. I don't know the answer to that.
Oh.
Right? So there's so many variables, right?
Uh-huh.
How much did you study? Because if you study the objectives, you'll make a good grade. How long did you study? How effective was your study time? I don't know.
Okay. But if everything was effective and you studied it for a long time, then you should.
If
So where are
you
they
were
under?
effective in the way you study,
You should make a good
people
grade.
make good grades.
What are they under?
Yeah.
Course materials?
Well, what is it under? What material?
Course materials.
Okay.
I said that many times. Hey, listen. For practical four, there's a really good study aid. There's a really good study aid for you all. It's under practical 4. It's called the Matrix. It's really great. You should look at it. Okay. How do you not look at that?
So that person
So we have to know all of these.
150.